Smart government action is required in 3 areas to bolster growth and reduce poverty. And a priority measure is to stimulate the growth of small and medium business and medium and small towns. The data on small and medium business, SMEs, is absolutely dismal. World Bank statistics for 2013 show that in Canada, 65.5%, almost 66% of all private sector employees work in SMEs. In Poland, it's 63, in Italy, it's 78. In Ukraine, it's 31. The number of such enterprises per 1,000 people in Ukraine is 4.8%. In the United States, it's 74%. When we look at the contribution of SMEs to GDP, we find that the average in Europe is about 67%. But in Ukraine, it's among the lowest in the world, 10%. So this sector that elsewhere provides the greatest amount of employment, makes the largest contribution to GDP, and is the most dynamic and adaptive, is largely missing in Ukraine. There are many obstacles to SME growth in Ukraine: labyrinthian registrations and permissions processes, high compliance costs, massive regulatory burden, not to mention corruption. But the availability of a workforce that can easily be retrained and a very decent infrastructure are factors that spell for a promising future, and this is going to be the engine of economic growth in Ukraine in the future. And the situation is improving. And finally, prompted by the European Union, the government has adopted an SME policy that was developed in a very unusual practice for the Ukrainian government, and that is through rigorous and vigorous public consultation with stakeholders. SME growth is critical also to another issue that that very often is forgotten, and that is the future of small and medium towns. The significance of small and medium towns in Ukraine is all too often overlooked. Although Ukraine has a high urbanization rate, it's about over 70%, more than 50% of the population live in small towns, urban settlements, urban-type settlements or villages. And a village in Ukraine can be 20,000 people. And 20% live in medium towns. Only 1 in 3 Ukrainian lives in a big city. In the EU, 2 out of 5 residents live in small towns, where they find employment and dynamic enterprises. Germany's Mittelstand, the medium-sized enterprises, are a cornerstone of their economy, and they're strewn across small towns. A survey of small businesses in Latin America showed that 70% of all manufacturing originates in small towns. The neglect of small towns is, of course, very much a legacy of Soviet industrialization.